Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to PHP course. Today is our lecture number 21. In today's lecture I am going to teach you how can you connect your PHP application with MySQL database. Basically this is the first lecture for MySQL, and you can see how can you do connectivity of your PHP page with your MySQL server. So what is MySQL? MySQL is basically a relational database management system where you actually create your databases, and from now onwards we see how can you connect your application and how can you send and receive data from your database to your application and to your application from your database. So let's start and have a look what we have today. Before starting, we have to see this XAMPP control panel, and you notice here MySQL and it is started. Okay, so you have to make sure that your inside your XAMPP your MySQL is also started here, and to verify this you have to open your browser and you have to check whether it is opening or not. So let's check. First of all, we have to write here localhost :82 to open our server. So localhost :82, that's our default server. Sorry for that. I wanted to open only my server to verify it. Look, my XAMPP is now open. There are two ways. You can directly click on PHP MyAdmin. You will be navigated to your MySQL interface on the browser, or directly you can specify here PHP MyAdmin. There are two ways. So click on PHP MyAdmin. If everything goes well, you will be successfully navigated to your PHP MyAdmin interface, and there you can manage your databases and your queries, and you can import an existing database, you can export your existing database, and there are so many settings. So we'll see that later on. So let's first create the database here inside this particular interface of MySQL. This is a express edition or express version. You can separately install MySQL from official MySQL site. Okay, so let's create a new database. First of all, we have to go to the database. There are two ways to create a database: the graphical user interface and of course the SQL or the SQL language. So I prefer you to do every time SQL, select SQL and then write your queries here inside SQL. So let me zoom in at this part, and now let me write here the very first query, that is create database, and then the name of the database, let's say example DB. That's it. So this is how you can create your query, and after this writing your query, you can click here on go button to execute this query. After executing this query, you see the query executed successfully, and you notice here your example DB database is successfully created. When you open the or expand the tree here, you see there is nothing. So now select your database, and inside this database, you know, we create tables inside the databases. So we don't have any table, so there is a graphical user interface and there is a query interface. So we are going on query, and let us create the first table that we are going to create here. So create table. Okay, MySQL is case insensitive. That means you can be able to write query in capital or in close or in mixed mode case, no problem. Okay, so create table, and the name of the table, let's say customer. Okay, or you can write here customers. Okay, that's it. Sorry, spelling mistake. Now it's fine. So customers, and then round brackets, and then come inside and then write the ID of the customer. So C_ID integer, not null, and then it should be the primary key. So primary and key. I hope you have the basics of SQL. If you don't have SQL basics, then this is the first thing that you have to do here. So this is the table where you can insert your records. Now I am taking the name, so I am creating here the data type varchar 30 for this name, and then not null. And then what else I wanted to store with for customer, let's say phone, and I am specifying here another data type, that is varchar 15. That should also be not null. And furthermore, you can be able to take here username. That was the original name first. Now this is the username. It is of 20 characters length, and it should be not null, and it should be unique. Okay, so now the next step is the password. So password, you can specify your varchar 20, or you can use here one more thing. No, yes, varchar 20, and it should be not null also. And then the last thing is the email of the customer. So C_email, and then varchar 30, and it should be not null, and it should be unique also, because email cannot be duplicated for two different users. There is no one email, there should be separate email. So this is how you can create your database. Now database table. Now the next step is, if you wanted to make this column as an identity column, then you have to specify here at the bottom. One more thing we have to specify here is, if you wanted to make it auto increment column, then you have to specify here auto underscore increment. So what will happen, the customer ID will be added automatically or inserted automatically inside this table. Okay, so guys, I am expecting from you that you have the basics of SQL language, and you should have some knowledge or some basics about SQL and databases. So that's why I have directly created the database with the name example DB here in MySQL, and here I have created the table inside that particular database. So let's, okay, one more tip that I must give you here, that before executing the query here on browser, copy this query and then execute it. So let's see what will happen. Look, the query is successfully executed, and you have now a table. Okay, now the next step is, how can you connect to this database from your PHP page? For that purpose, let us go to the PHP page. That's my PHP page. Let us first save it with the name DB connectivity. Okay, and it is stored inside my root directory, so save it. It's dbconnectivity.php, and now I don't need anything here right now, so simple write PHP and then specify database connectivity code. So how can you connect to your database? The very first thing that you have to do is MySQLi underscore connect. It is a function. There are so many ways, there are multiple ways you can connect to your database, but in this particular tutorial I am teaching you this particular function, MySQLi underscore connect. This is the function that helps you to create your database connectivity from your application. So look guys, when I open the bracket, it is asking me to provide the host name. So what is the host name? Where is my database? My database is located at my local host. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, why this is local host? Because my PHP MySQL is running on the local host. Okay, if you have some other server name or some IP address, then you specify that here. Then what it is asking you? It is asking you to provide the username and the password. Okay, so the default user here we have in MySQL is root. Okay, and then you have to specify the password. The default password is blank by default when you configure PHP and MySQL. Now, so default password is blank. Okay, but it is not a good practice to use this root default username and the blank password, because everyone knows what is the default username and password. So it's a good practice to change the default username and password from this, but right now I am leaving it like this. Now the next thing that you have to specify here is the database name. So what is the name of your database? That was example DB. Simple, that's it. So these are the 4 parameters that you have to pass here in this function. Now is this function is working or not? For that purpose I am storing the result of this function here inside a variable, that is connect. Okay, so this variable will return true if the connection is successful, and this variable will return false if the connection is not successful. Okay, if the connection is successful, then this is true, otherwise this is false. Now how can you check? So you have to simply put that connect variable here inside the if condition. So if the result is true, then you come inside, otherwise you will show some error. So if this is successful, then write here connected, otherwise write here in else not connected. So if everything is fine, username is fine, parameters are fine, then you will see the connected message when I run this page. So let's see what is the result after this page. Look, you are connected. That means this page is now successfully connected on your database that you have created inside your MySQL. I hope it is clear up till now. Okay, all right, let me show you some other thing. If I write here some other different name, let's say this is the name of my localhost, let's say for example. Okay, if you provide some wrong credentials, then see what will happen. look, it is loading and it's taking time and it is giving you warnings, so there is no such host and all that, so errors are starting to appear. So this is the correct way to connect your database. Now I hope it is clear up till now. One more thing that I must mention here, why I have specified this username and this password. Let me take you to the MySQL, and here if you go to the settings and operations and privileges, in privileges you can see here the user is added with the name root and the host is 127.0.0.1, that is the local host, and all privileges are granted to this particular user and all that. If you wish to create a new user, you can add a new user. So how can you add a new user in MySQL? Simply write the name of the user, the host, and then the password, then retype password, or you can auto generate the password, and then you can grant the permissions what this user can do on your database. Okay, so we'll discuss this later on, but today I am stopping here. Hope you have understood everything. If you do not understand anything, please do write me. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.